Hello and good morning to everybody today. We are delighted to start our third in this year's series of CRM optimization. So for everyone that is in attendance today, thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedules to participate. As a rule of housekeeping, please make sure that you enter any questions in the control panel of the GoToWebinar application. You will find a section there that says questions. You can go in there, enter your questions, and we will be seeing those as we are delivering the content. Once we see those questions, we may opt to answer immediately or wait till the end of the session. Either way, rest assured that your questions will be answered properly. To introduce the team today, I'm going to start sharing my screen here. Okay, and I hope you can now see my screen. Bendix, just for validation, can you confirm that?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So with you today, you will have myself. I'm Mariano Doble, the CEO and founder of Doble Group LLC. And basically what we do is help companies in the Caribbean and Central American territories improve their sales, marketing, and customer service results. And we do this through the combination of highly customized programs tailored to our specific customer needs and the world's leading CRM technologies provided by Salesforce.com. During today's intervention, during our presentation, I will be introducing the concepts of making your CRM social, and then we're going to have Ms. Venice Williamson work with you more on the dynamics of making that happen in your individual businesses. As I mentioned before, please feel free to enter any questions as we go on. So to get started, I just introduced myself, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about a social CRM strategy. And in today's, evolving marketplace, it has become quite clear that the difference between one company and another are more and more related to the experience that they're delivering to their customers. And social CRM plays a very big part on that. So to help you define this concept of social CRM strategy, we've come up with a definition here that we feel encompasses the essence of what CRM strategy is, and describe in quite a bit of detail what it can do for your business. So in our words, a CRM strategy aims to help you know your customer better. And this is achieved by listening to them, interacting and collaborating not only with them, but with your employees and partners with the objective of developing innovations that deliver a personalized experience. And hopefully this experience will translate to both you and your customer achieving their goal. So I know it's a mouthful of a definition, but we feel it encompasses the key elements, which is really how do you get to know your customer better? And the right approach to that really is to listening, interacting, and collaborating with them. So we hope that this will serve as a platform for you to start looking at what innovations you can bring forward in your business to deliver this much more personalized experience and therefore becoming much more relevant to your customers. So in this process, we want to give you an idea of the size of the social media impact. And I think this is quite compelling because the world population is 7.4 billion people, and social media users worldwide has already reached 1.97 billion. That means almost 2 billion people are already using social media, which for a new product, if you will, it's quite an achievement. As a whole, we're talking about 25% of the population already using social media. Now, what's interesting about this is that for social media to take place, you're going to need internet connectivity. And we know that there's a lot of rural areas across the world that don't have this connectivity. So as connectivity starts to expand, you're also going to see a huge improvement or a huge increase in that growth. The different studies, and we have the reference at the bottom of this slide, which we will be sharing with you, have shown that there is an expected projection of 2.5 billion people using social media by the year 2017, which is another 29% growth in utilization of this medium to communicate, with the world, with specific people, with specific markets, and in your case, with your customers. If we start drilling this information down to Latin America and the Caribbean, we're looking at about 246 million people with a projection of 324 million by the year 2017, which represents a 32% growth. Now, if you analyze this in comparison to the world population, we're talking may have a faster growth in the utilization of social media than the rest of the world, which again, calls our attention as we seek to incorporate a social media strategy into our business. Moving right along, I want to show you what the distribution of social media is across the different channels that are out there. Because so far what you're looking at is at the general presence of social media. Facebook leads the pack with 1.3 billion, followed by YouTube, which is 900 million, and then Twitter, 646 million, Google Plus is 400 million, LinkedIn is 240 million, Instagram is 200 million, and Pinterest is about 70 million. So if you want to know what areas to really focus on, you may want to take the top three, which are Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And that's quite consistent, by the way, with what we are seeing internally at Doble Group. We're seeing that most of the people that are coming to us are liking us first on Facebook, although we're seeing a very fast growth on Twitter because, Twitter being 40 characters, it pops up, in a much more attractive format to the mobile user. They can decide what to see and not to see. And you don't have to wait to actually go to Facebook to see the information that the channels that you follow are sending you. And YouTube makes perfect sense because people prefer to watch videos than to read content. So that's what we found. And again, the reference for all these statistics are included in the footnotes. In this case, we use statisticbrain.com to pull this information. So very compelling. If you're not yet, we do encourage you to start using Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter to make your company known and to start delivering content that becomes relevant to your prospect and to your existing customers. I also want to show you the evolution of CRM towards social CRM. If you hear most of the message out there by most CRM providers, you're going to see them talk about social CRM. And a lot of people are kind of lost. What exactly does this social CRM movement mean? How does this work? What does it do for me? How does it impact my business? And I think that's the purpose of this webinar, is to give you a clear illustration of how the evolution of CRM into social CRM is going to start changing the dynamics of how and when you interact with your customers. So traditionally in the CRM format, you're interacting with assigned departments of a company as a customer. The process that you're engaged in is defined by the company. The hours in which you can talk to the company depend on the times that are preset by that company. And I'm looking at you as a customer. Your channels for communication are also predefined by the corporation or the business that you're trying to do business with. And you're being looked at as a transaction. In other words, you've purchased a product or a service. So in essence, it has been an inside-out process. It's really about how I engage with my customer on my terms. And that is changing dramatically. Because now in social CRM, you're not interacting with a department, you're interacting with anyone and everyone. As a customer, you are now defining the process. In other words, you are dictating where and how and what you want to talk about. The hours are set by the client, because if you're not open, your client is still talking about you and your brand and your product and your service through these different social CRM mediums. And the communication channel has become bilateral. Therefore, it's become dynamic. It's not that I send out a newsletter and that's how I communicate with you. It's more about the mutual conversation that is taking place between the two parties. And the interaction is two ways. It's not transactional. As a company, you send a message. As a customer, they respond to that message. Based on how they respond to that message, you respond with your answer. and this becomes an ongoing communication process. Whereas it used to be that it was a one-time mass mail or, general marketing communications message. And what that has done is that the how has become outside in versus inside out, meaning that we are now working in the customer's terms, not in our terms as the provider of services or products. So this evolution is redefining and shifting the paradigms of the past and how we interact with customers to how we ought to be interacting with customers into the future. We also want to talk about this process. In other words, how is this taking place? How is this happening today? And what does a social CRM process look like if I was to operationalize it in my business? So this is what we want to show you next. And this here is our simplest way to illustrate this process. We're still talking about people. So whether you're an employee or a customer, you're a person. We're still talking about processes, which is how we do things, and hopefully we do things based on best practices. And we're still talking about technology. In other words, how do we enact these policies? How do we measure them? How do we assure adherence to them? And how do we know how to respond back? So we're still looking at people, process, and technology. So the first thing that happens is you're listening. You're listening to what your customer is saying, and you're listening to them in Twitter, in LinkedIn, in YouTube, in Facebook, in Google+. And once you're listening to this information, you're analyzing what they're saying. And based on what they're saying, you're considering either a manual process, meaning a very customized answer, or an automated process, which is a macro process that says, well, most people that have this kind of comment or this kind of concern are best addressed by this particular response. And that's how you come up with your response. And that response now will go back to the customer or your follower who listens to it, and then they respond to you. And in this process, you can see that the Marketing Cloud would be the ideal tool to listen to them. You will see that your Sales Cloud and your Service Cloud, or whatever CRM you use, will be the repository to capture this information, where you would have a social profile, where you'll be able to see the different interactions that the customer has had with you through the different social media channels, where you'll be able to see the transactions and how you segmented them across your customer base. So everything that you see here is a combination of what the social media channel is saying about you, how you're putting that information into your CRM, and how you're analyzing that information to give a response that is ultimately relevant to that particular customer. So again, it's about people listening, processes to enable that you have a way to respond that is systematic, that is best practices based, and then you going back to listening and re-responding. And eventually, what does this represent for you? This represents an experience. And the best way for us to illustrate that experience is through this very simple chart. There is your client or your customer, and that customer is listening to what you are saying, and that is coming across through your marketing communications. Now, based on how attractive that marketing communication is, you're achieving one of two things. A, getting them to buy or getting them to buy more, and B, getting them to be loyal to you. Because three things can happen. They can buy from somebody else, they can buy from you and somebody else, and they can decide to leave and go with another customer, with another provider. So your marketing communications are pretty much defining that communication that you're having with them. And then comes the sales interaction. What is the experience that your customer is getting when he's talking to your sales rep? Whether that be in the store, whether that be online, whether that be in the community, whether that be on an email, whether that be on the phone. And that is starting to shape their impression of your business, which ultimately gets validated with the service they receive. In other words, was that value proposition delivered when I received the product or service, or when I called back because I had a problem? And the aggregated experiences conform to the loyalty level that you'll have with that customer. So the better the marketing communications, the better the sales experience, the better the service experience, the more loyal your customer will be to you, to your brand, and to your products. So what we're trying to illustrate here is your CRM needs to be social so that you can interact at these 4 different layers with each customer as an individual. Not as data, but as an individual. Because I'm Mariano Doble and I have a specific profile and I talk about certain things in my social media which should allow you to combine that information with your transactional information to understand me as a customer or as a prospect. And that understanding is going to get you to the point where you can deliver a much better experience to that customer. So we think this is very simple but yet very powerful. And you know, the beautiful thing about social CRM is that it really impacts all these different touch points. And that's what we're going to show you next. So if you see here, you know, the social CRM impacts all customer touch points. And we're going to start with marketing. How does it impact marketing? Well, it impacts it tremendously because your communication needs to be relevant to the customer's interest. You cannot continue to go with the spray and pray advertising strategy where you send out a message and hope people will like it. Or you send out a message and hope a certain segment may like it. Now you need to talk to people as an individual. Your social media is going to cost you a lot less than your traditional advertising, which translates to lower costs and hence higher profits. And finally, measuring the return on investment of your social CRM advertising or promotion or communication is going to be much more accurate than measuring it with your traditional advertising methods. So those are 3 very compelling reasons to move into social CRMing as a way to communicate with your customer. In the general communication, I think it's important to recognize that word of mouth is always going to be more powerful than paid advertisement. And the beauty of social networks is that if you're talking to me, Mariano, you're also talking to my friends, which are following me. And hence, I become now a medium to disseminating that message. And now that I have something to say about it, because I see this great ad that has come out, and I think it's really relevant to my lifestyle, and now I retweet it, or I share it in Facebook, or I share it in Google+, or I put a video about it on YouTube, now the people that follow me are also buying into, or at the very least listening to, what you have to say. And communication is direct and faster, which means that it gets to me with the information that I need, which allows me to take action a lot quicker, therefore reducing the commercial life cycle, or in this case, the sales cycle. And also now with social CRM, you have the potential of creating communities, which is a platform where your customer can go in and get more in depth about you and your product and his or her experience, which allows you to foster stronger and tighter relationships and allows you to build a fan base, which is what you want. Ultimately, you want your customers to be your fans, your advocates, people that are speaking highly about you and the products that you offer. So this becomes much more powerful, much more accurate, much more measurable, and much more effective than using traditional marketing and communication means. And if we start taking it to the next layers, which are the sales and customer service layer, I think at the sales level, we would all agree that the better I understand my prospect, the higher my conversion rate is going to be and the higher my closing rate is going to be. Why? Because the sales cycle depends on the buying customer confidence. In other words, do I have the resources and do I trust that this is the best product or service for me? And therefore, the better you know your customer, the faster you can bridge that trust barrier and the faster you can accelerate that sales cycle. Because when you send Mariano a message, Mariano's going to say, you know what, that's exactly what I'm looking for. How did the business know this? Well, the business knows this because I've been talking about this in Facebook for months. And now they're using it to give me a message that I find highly relevant. And your sales strategy now is much more based on trust and win-win propositions, which means that the customer is going to be more confident about buying from you. They're not going to have buyer's remorse, and they're going to know that what you're offering them is a win for them and a win for you. And this is the foundation for that long-term loyalty with your customer. As long as your customer continues to trust you and extract value from your product and service, they'll continue to do business with you. In customer service, the client expects a response in real time, and they want it through their preferred channels. They don't want to go and get on a phone and get on a queue and wait 20 minutes for you to answer that phone, only to hear that somebody else has to call them back because you really can't resolve the problem. The tendency is that they're going to go and they're going to complain and they're going to rant, and they're going to do it on Twitter, and they're going to do it on Facebook, and they're going to say your company's not delivering what they expected. And the whole world is going to listen to that. So if you're able to capture that information right then and there, then you can respond. Then you can provide an interactive platform, and you can give them a customer community for them to channel their rant. Hopefully, if you manage that well, you convert that rant into a rave, which eventually converts more of your customers into fans. So again, that customer experience is highly improved through social media channels. And then, of course, the content and promotion automation. You know, what are these points about? This is about the social media and the CRM synergy. How is social CRM working? Well, social CRM is a combination of the social media channel information and interaction with the information that you're capturing in your CRM. So now that I have both of these tools, I'm going to be able to take that content and I'm going to be able to create promotions that are going to be much more personalized. And I will be able to automate it because I will see all the customers that follow that same pattern, which will enable you to make better analysis and therefore be more effective and capture a higher return on investment on any promotion that you put out there or any content that you're communicating out there, whether it be marketing related or just general communication. Number two is the capturing, the measuring, and the follow-up of both the lead and the customer. Because now you can start capturing information in the landing page so that before they even engage you, you already have an idea of what they want and how they want it. And that's giving you the power of knowledge to personalize and engage in the customer's terms and preferences. Thus, again, enhancing that relationship because you are talking to me as an individual, not as a segment, not as a market, not as a transaction, not as a social security number, not just a unique code. You're talking to me as a person. And finally, you're going to have market research and track tendencies in real time. For instance, if you're using communities which are integrated with your CRM, you can capture real-time information from your customers, i.e. their preferences, the trends, their likes and dislikes, and then you are in fact generating real-time market research where you're getting the information straight from the source 365 days a year in real time. So this starts now providing you with a certain edge competitively that you're going to be able to use to go to market faster, quicker, and at better value. Because you're not going to have to spend the millions of dollars or the hundreds of thousands or the tens of thousands or the single thousands that you had to before to understand the customer tendencies and what their preferences were like. You're also taking the customer service experience to another level. By integrating social media and CRM, you can now anticipate the needs and potential of your customers. Therefore, you will find right fit products and solutions, which goes back to that personalized, relevant experience. You'll be able to mature your prospects and create an audience. Not all prospects can or are ready to buy right now. So a social CRM strategy is going to help you develop the right nurturing strategy to get them to the point where they are ready to buy from you, and after they buy from you, that they become loyal fans. At Doble Group, we call it the educate, excite, and optimize strategy. Educate the customer before they're ready to buy a CRM. excite them once they're ready to buy the CRM to see the potential, what the future looks like, and then help them optimize it, help them extract maximum value once they have that CRM. And that's exactly what you need to do regardless of what your product or service is to build long-term relationships with customers that will generate word of mouth and will generate loyalty and cross-selling and upselling. And it will help you identify the social profile of your prospects and opportunity. A CRM enables 360-degree visibility of your prospect and your customer information, which means that now you get to combine their social media profile to help you design a promotion that is feasible for that particular customer. Before, you had to go to the spray and pray strategy because it was all about trial and error. I'm going to try this and I'm going to see if it works. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to create the next one. Well, now you know your chances of it working are going to be much higher because you have much more intelligence about that customer, their preferences, their likes, and their dislikes. Which takes you to something that looks like this. The blending of social network information with your CRM and your communities is what ultimately provides you the social CRM visibility that you need to execute an effective social CRM strategy. So you're combining all these things. Now, by having said that, we're not saying you have to wait years to get here. We're not saying you need thousands of dollars to do it. Okay? Social networks are there now. Communities are there now. CRMs are there now, and they're affordable. And you can start with a simple CRM and combine that with the information in the social network and start developing this social CRM strategy. It becomes highly feasible at a very low cost very, very quickly. We have here for you a success story. LOreal, as you know, it's a cosmetic brand. And they did a very simple project. They gave 5,000 beauty salons access to a Facebook program. And in that Facebook program, they started telling people about what are the trends, what do people want to look like, what's pretty, what's ugly, how-to videos, and even allow them to do their online bookings with the salons through Facebook. And by the way, here's some information on LOreal. And it turned out to be so effective that the average increase in revenue of LOreal products per store was $4,000, which translated to $20 million in increased sales across all their partner salons, all by having this social media strategy through Facebook. And, you know, to validate the efficiency of this, Forrester Groundswell gave them an award for this innovative social CRM strategy. As a result of that, if you look at it from the intangible perspective, they got 21 million impressions, which were 21 million people looking at the brand, of which 2.2 million people did something about the information that they saw, which are translated into engagements. So again, what we're telling you is this works. This is a very simple concept executed by LOreal. If you extrapolate this to your business, you can start seeing results right away. We also want to make sure that you know what are the tendencies of social CRM. It's migrating totally to software as a service because social, media and software in the cloud both live in the cloud. So the information is coming one to the other seamlessly. You don't have to do massive integrations because all the data is already in the cloud, therefore extractable by either system. Companies are starting to understand that they need to be loyal themselves. And this is an interesting finding for us because whereas in the past we're working on making sure our customers are loyal to us, we forgot to become loyal to our customers. And now we can do this because we know them better. And this is a very interesting find, one that I believe is going to start, shifting the way we do business. And the other big trend is mobile technology. Mobile technology is social by definition, whether you buy an iPhone, a BlackBerry, an Android, a Windows device, Facebook, Twitter, all these things are already integrated. All the applications are already there, and they're bombarding you with stuff 24/7. And what is more personal today than your mobile device? I always say in my webinars that people will go back home, to get their phone, whereas they might not even do that to get their wallets. And that's exactly how personal mobile technology has become. So with that, I've taken 30 minutes, which is a little more than I intended, but I did want to get the message across. I want to turn it over to Venice. If you guys are compelled to ask anything, go ahead and put it in the question section. I'll be happy to answer.
All right, so this afternoon I will take you through the steps to a social CRM. And the pointers that I've listed here are listening to conversations in the social networks, cross-referencing emails with social network profiles, knowing who your clients are in the social networks, and understanding the conversations of your prospects and clients. So let's begin with point number 1. Listening to conversations in social networks. This has become even more integral for enterprises as social commerce continues to grow. More people read reviews before some or all purchases. Consumers act freely as brand and product advocates, and on the flip side, some act as detractors. Therefore, this increases the need for monitoring what is being said about your company and your brand in the social space. Radian 6 is one tool that helps brands and companies to ensure that no post is missed, be it over the millions of blogs and or comments on Facebook or be it Twitter. The beauty of Radian 6 is that it integrates with enterprise apps such as Salesforce CRM. The second point, cross-referencing emails with social network profiles, speaks to the ability to find social networks based on a user's email address. Say, for example, you have an email list you collected at a conference. Now you'd like to follow up with those users via email, but you would also like to find them on Twitter or Facebook to see if they have, any professional or influential connections. Traditionally, you would have to enter all of the email addresses or names manually into Google, do a search to see if you can find their networks. With a tool such as Full Contact, you can run queries against their massive database of users, and in no time you'll have the results you desire. And that is seeing the social networks your prospects or leads are active in. So with all of this, you're able to know who your clients, which of your clients are active in the social networks and which social networks your clients are active in. From there, you're able to understand the conversations your prospects and clients are having, not just about your company and brand, but also about other companies, other brands, and other topical issues. With all of this data that you've gathered through tools that I've mentioned, such as Radian 6 or through Full Contact, you're able to formulate a conversation profile of your prospect or of your target. And by this, you're able to see how many of your customers or contacts are using social networks, when they use it, which ones they use, who they're communicating with, where they're communicating, and how they're communicating. And as we mentioned earlier, you want to ensure that all the various touch points within your organization, be it sales, marketing, customer service, or public relations, that they're receiving the vital information about what is being said about your company and about your brand. Because ultimately, what you want to be able to do is to formulate an engagement strategy, one that will look at enabling feedback, integrating data, and distilling insights. But for all of this to take place, there has got to be a framework, a strategy, a social CRM strategy in place. And many companies make the mistake of thinking that a social media strategy is the same as a social CRM strategy, and that's not so. Consider companies with siloed social media initiatives. Marketing may have established a Facebook presence where it posts company information and promotes campaigns to encourage customer interactions. Customer service may have representatives using social forums to answer questions from customers. And at the same time, employees throughout the enterprise may be individually tweeting or blogging on topics that interest customers. Collectively, these initiatives constitute the use of social media for customer communication. However, they fall short of composing a social CRM strategy because there is no integrated, overarching strategic approach for engaging customers regardless of where they are in the value proposition stage. So you look at marketing, you look at sales, you look at the customer service matrix. And then the integrated strategic approach would be to ensure that there is teamwork taking place. There is a director, someone executing on the strategy. You're collecting and analyzing data. You have a community manager, you have agents. And then this filters into the framework that has been established for your agency, your brand, your call center, or your various touch points. Your operational model then translates into how you integrate this into your CRM approach. Your guidelines, your procedures, how you utilize workflows. And utilizing workflows, here you can pass information, as we said earlier, to the respective teams that need to receive a particular information, be it something specific to public relations or something specific to a service-related matter. Functionality, how you monitor, how you engage, and how you manage the information that is received. And all of this filters into your CRM. An example of a business-to-business approach. Initially, business-to-business companies were less aggressive in their adoption of social media than business-to-consumer companies. However, that gap is closing. And what you find is that business-to-business companies are doing the basics. They're syncing their contacts in Gmail. They're utilizing LinkedIn. They're utilizing Facebook. They're seeing the social profile in the CRM using the tool I mentioned earlier, Full Contact or FlipTop, among others. They use a LinkedIn plugin that offers a CRM or in a partner. And you can have a universal toolbox inbox for social networks to respond to messages from your customers. Activities and interactions can be aligned to the messages that you receive from your social networks. And the reality is that most customers or individuals who make a post, they do expect to get a response in a very short period of time through that medium from the company that they have blogged or posted about. You can use internal or external collaboration tools such as Chatter. Business-to-business versus the business-to-consumer basics. Here you can monitor your social channels, again, on a more pervasive basis, because business-to-consumer customers tend to utilize social media more on a wide-scale communication. They tend to communicate more frequently than business-to-business companies, and more frequently. You can engage in social channels and content to try and win the trust and confidence of your customers. And you can do this through the utilization of reviews. You can do this through polls. You can use this through a multitude of different media to ensure that you are soliciting feedback from your customers. Communication management and knowledge management is also something that is quite frequently done in the business-to-consumer space. And again, the multi-channel approach of ensuring that you're gathering information from your respective clients across the various social media networks in which they're active. And through the utilization of your CRM tool, you're able to integrate all of this into one platform where you're able to see Facebook posts You're able to see the tweets which are made. You're able to also monitor their activity across LinkedIn, for example. And through the use of your CRM tool, you're able to have this in one space where it then becomes manageable and where you can execute on your strategy as it relates to monitoring, as it relates to targeting your messages to your respective customers based on the feedback, based on the information they have posted about your company, based on what you've learned about their likes and their dislikes. So emails, web, your various social channels are just some of the ways that you can integrate all your different channels into your CRM customer base. So just in summary, the basic steps that you need to bear in mind as you engage on your social CRM strategy, just to bear in mind that there is a difference between a social media strategy versus a social CRM strategy, and that there should be an alignment, with the various areas of the business to ensure that this is incorporated into your CRM tool so that you can execute on an integrated, strategic approach to how you engage in the social space.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Venice. And my apologies to the rest of the attendees, because it seemed we had a glitch with the GoToWebinar. At least on my end, I couldn't see Venice's screen when I transferred it over. At any rate, I want to thank everybody again, and I want to open it up for questions. So please, if you have any questions, bring them forward. I will remind everyone, and Venice, if you can pass this on to the following screens on the social media. I want to remind everybody that if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We will be circulating this presentation shortly. We will also be circulating a video of this presentation that you can see on YouTube. But in order for you to see this, we ask that you follow us in Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus or LinkedIn. And as soon as these presentations become available, we will be posting the links in that medium. If you do not see it there, please feel free to write to us, info@doblegroup.com, and we will be certain to make sure that you have access to both the video and the presentation. Okay, I see one question here. How costly is it to deploy a social CRM strategy? The best answer to that is, it can be as cheap as free. If you started tomorrow looking at the information online and starting your website, your Facebook page, and starting to publish things on LinkedIn, to at least start issuing content, and then you look at the followers and you start targeting the followers with very specific message, you can do this right away. So, it's something that a small business can start doing right now. It's something that even a large business can start doing right now with, zero investment. However, to make this viable long-term and for you to be able to extract, maximum value from this effort, you want to make sure that you go through the process of developing your own, CRM strategy, at least define what are the things you want to achieve. Then you go on and you get a CRM so that you can have a repository of your customer information, manage your sales cycle, manage your customer service. If you already have that CRM, then what you need to do is, make sure that all the social profile information is included in the CRM, that you have a proper segmentation process in your CRM, and then you start combining that with tools like Radiant 6 and other marketing tool applications, other social marketing applications, to start listening to the information that is being put out there, to start analyzing that information and start responding to it. So, like I said, you can start with something very simple, homegrown. You can go to a simple CRM, simple social CRM deployment, or you can go very sophisticated with very, robust tools. So anybody can get started. The good thing about Doble Group is we'll work with you regardless of budget. We can help you define the strategy. We can help you incorporate the technologies. We can help you integrate the technologies. We can train you. We can manage your change management. and we can give you the ongoing support and consulting services that you need to optimize the tool. So we'll work with you whether it's something low budget or high budget or mid budget. It doesn't matter. We can always help you out to get you started and start taking advantage of the information that is out there in social media. I have one more question. Where do you suggest we start with social media channels? I would say Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Facebook because it's most commonly used, and you can link it into your personal relationships. If you're a business-to-business company, I encourage you to go into LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a phenomenal tool for you to identify prospects by name, title, company, specializations. It becomes a very effective tool when it's B2B. And YouTube because people love to see videos. And I would say start with how-tos. If your product is, a software, you can say, how to set up your software. Start with the benefits of your product. And a short video, nothing more than 5 to 8 minutes to get people interested in understanding what you're all about and what your products are all about, can do it. And you don't need expensive tools for that. I mean, you can do it yourself on Skype. You can get a video cam, and as long as you do something professional that's well presented, you can get started. So you can start right away, and I recommend Facebook, LinkedIn for B2B and YouTube. And I also recommend that you have a CRM. Salesforce has a lot of great tools. You can start with a group edition, which is about $25 a month. You can go into Enterprise, which is about $65 a month, or you can go, Professional, which is $65, and then Enterprise, which is the full-fledged version, which is about $125 a month per user. So budget's not a problem, and speed is not a problem. I find that the biggest challenge for companies is to get their heads wrapped around understanding, what is it that I want to do with social media? And then the second step is how can I do it through social media? And that's where we come in and help you. We help make these strategies a reality, and we help you shape these strategies so that you get the most out of what you're trying to do. I have a third question here regarding the presentation. Yes, as I mentioned before, we will be sharing the presentation. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or Google+, whatever your preferred social media channel. I think it's appropriate given the conversation we're having today. And as soon as this presentation goes out, you'll get the link to be able to download it right away. Okay, so I don't see any other questions here. Bendix, have you got any questions on your end?
No, that's it. Those were the three.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, again, for those of you that have taken the time to be with us this morning or afternoon, regardless of where you are, we thank you tremendously. We urge you to write to us. Tell us what you think of our presentations, our webinars. Tell us what you'd like us to speak about next. This presentation actually came as a result of a previous webinar on social, not on social, on CRM trends in Latin America. A few people wanted to learn more about social CRM. So tell us what you want to listen to, and we will make it our mission to deliver content that is relevant to you as you evaluate CRM options, if you're just simply trying to learn about CRM, or if you already have a CRM and just want to take it to the next level. So again, thank you. Have a great afternoon, and do follow us and stay in touch.